Brad, how are you today?
Hey, I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
Out here in breeze on the porch.
Feels good out here.
You might be able to
Temperature.
tell if you see my hair move. You'll know that it's kind of curling around this corner a little bit. But you're tucked back.
If you see my hair move,
Yeah, we're in trouble if we see your hair move, buddy. But you're tucked back in there in the corner.
Yeah, it might get warm back here for me. I think I'll be all right.
Well, probably
We're
hot
all right.
hot flashes. Do men have hot flashes?
I bet you do. Menopause, right? Isn't that what that's- menopause,
I don't know.
multiples.
I've never heard of that. I'll have to research it.
I've heard of it. I don't know if it's real.
Well, imagine.
Sounds
I
like
mean,
a
similar.
joke, right? Menopause.
Similar thing as a woman when you get past your, I
Yeah.
guess,
Well, I haven't-
sexual
I haven't
capability
had-
prime,
No, I haven't had a period in years.
right? Well, that's my point, though. You hear guys like Hugh Hefner or whatever. He
Ugh.
impregnates people when he's 70 years old. So evidently
think it's
there
a
is no
lie.
cutoff line for a man.
I think,
But isn't menopause representative of a woman no longer being able to bear
there's
children, right?
cycles.
Yeah,
They're getting older out of the birthing years, right?
And
So-
then, I think the reproductive system just kind of shuts
Yeah.
down,
Well,
But I don't know. Let's get off that topic.
I don't know why you brought
I
it
definitely
up.
don't have any expertise on
Did you
that.
bring
But
it
all
up? I
I know
brought
is
it up.
you're having hot flashes.
No, I got. There's stinking mosquitoes out here. A mosquito bit me on the knee, and that
Uh-oh.
sucker swole up
Well,
a little bit right there.
hopefully it was a
That's
mosquito.
I hope so. I'm done with my whining.
All right. Well,
I know we were talking. You got a nice, brand new cigar there.
Yeah, Troy ordered these for me. Arturo Fuente, a little tapered on each end. I
Well,
kind of like the structure of the cigar.
Yeah.
But these are really yummy.
So you were going on and on. I was like,
And
we
I
need to
got it
bring it up.
going with this. This is Blue Note, the uncut, unfiltered, and it's hot. But for whatever reason, these two had a really like hazelnutty flavor. And I was like, "Whoa, man, that's awesome!" But I didn't get that from that bourbon yesterday by itself. So it must be the
a
cigar.
combination of the two.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, good. Well,
I was just telling you a story.
yeah, tell me that story because
right
you
before
stopped.
right before we got on here, and I didn't want to miss out on recording it. But it was
a moth.
Troy had a moth on his bottle, and he went to drink
On
it, and
my
the
water
moth
bottle.
flew away, and he screamed like a little girl.
I didn't even. I just said I thought that was a sunflower seed.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
the
thought,
stinking moth. No.
The moth. So anyway,
tell your story.
So we used to make the noise where you take your finger. I don't know if I can get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tanner does.
Yeah,
that
and
all
you
the
do
time.
that in someone's ear.
Yeah.
And so I was, I don't know, I was in high school probably. My Aunt Jill, who is
Yeah.
my mom's half sister,
Yeah.
same mother as her.
Yeah.
And we're walking through the mall together, and she was awesome and real high strung, kind of a type A personality. And so I just reached around and I did that in her ear on the other side of her as we were walking down the hallway. And lo and behold, she like threw her legs out from under herself, and she went boom on the floor. Now keep in mind, Jill she's overweight, and she's stout, but she was overweight. And she hit that floor and boom, boom. Oh, Brady, what was that? Did you see that? I think it was a dragonfly. I never, ever. She hit the floor so hard, I never, ever could fess up to it.
No,
I feel terrible about it, but I mean,
you look like you feel terrible.
well, I didn't anticipate that reaction. She
over the top. Yeah.
she hit the deck. She
scared of
literally
bugs.
just gravity take me down.
What was that? Why?
Yeah, we were on the tile floor in the middle of the mall hallway. It was crowded. There was
She was scared of bugs, or was she? I don't remember her having
I don't think so.
weird issues. Bugs never came up. I guess as a
We're gonna
phobia.
speaking of, we're gonna have some
We're
bugs here.
getting dive bombed.
We got a dog over here that's whining, crying. So
Freaking whining.
we'll have some noises. That's all right.
Noises, and
Maybe we'll get
nobody will be able to see them in the video, but we'll be
Yeah, we're
moving
ducking
our
around.
heads
What's
going.
wrong with those
"Yeah,
guys?
well,
This is
they got
really
twitches."
weird.
The guys who got some issues.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's
So,
funny.
anyways, we're just chilling out. As you came over here, getting these cigars out. By the way,
Yeah.
they're really nice. Thank you. And
yeah.
so
I mean,
we
I
were-
didn't buy them, just so everybody, in case anybody's watching.
You went through the trouble.
I helped you get them.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
went through the trouble.
That's
He's
all.
Cigar
Ooh.
Club. You
There we
see
go.
my little friend right there?
He perched for a second.
Yeah, but anyways,
Yeah,
you
so
got
it's
them
a good
for
cigar.
me.
You
Either way.
smoked them before, but now you got a box of 25.
I think
now
these might
24.
be a little bolder than the ones
23.
I've been getting because
Well,
they
that's what I
got
was
a. They
asking.
can
Do you
just,
want the lighter or the dark? That's
I
the
want-
middle. I think that's the middle.
well,
on
it's
the
darker than the
flavor.
lighter one.
Yeah,
I
it is.
think it's a little maybe north
Yeah.
of middle.
Yeah,
little
well,
bold.
maybe.
But then there was there any darker like a Maduro kind?
Seems like there was.
said there was one that was a
that
little-
was their best seller.
Well,
That's
I see
what they
why.
called it, best seller. And that you gave me one, and thank you. You didn't have to do that, and that makes me nervous. You know how I am sometimes with some of these bolder cigars.
No, it's not bold. It's not bold. It's just got a little like a little flavor,
I don't know
but
what.
not like artificial
I've got
flavor.
some-
There's
I'm-
some sweetness in the
Okay,
tobacco.
got some sweetness. That's good.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about. I had some bad experiences with Cuban cigars.
The Cohibas.
Those Cohibas kicked my.
You
Cohiba.
couldn't get through one.
I couldn't.
Every
back
time
in the day.
every time you'd get
I may not still be able to.
pukey.
I did. I'd have to stop and
Well,
evacuate. and-
those cigars came from a very sketchy like hookup too.
yeah.
I had that guy, the player.
I didn't know it was sketchy.
Well, it wasn't. Just let me tell you about it. The
Okay.
player that I had was a Cuban player. I won't
Yeah.
name any names or whatever.
No.
So he went to the major leagues and
Yeah.
he got his debut and he came.
Mm-hmm.
Afterwards, he got optioned back down to AAA and he came down and he gave us all a cigar and it was a Cuban
Nice.
Cohiba.
Mm-hmm.
So of course. I inquire like, hey, can you get more of these?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, he's got a friend who lives, I guess, in Miami or whatever. $125 a box for 25 Churchill size. You could go
Yeah. That's cheap.
Cohibas or
Well.
Pantagas or Monte Cristos. And
Oh, yeah.
So I was the coach of a team, and we would order these cigars, and sometimes as many as 10 or 20 boxes at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would take and I'd go to the bank and I would deposit my money into an account, a nameless account. It was just a number after I received the cigars. And so
Gotcha.
I don't know how that worked. I don't know if it would still be the same now. It was a while ago, but
Yeah.
for $125 we get 20 I think, or 25 of these
25
big
bucks.
cigars. I think it was 25 of these
25
big
sounds
cigars.
right.
Yeah, and so, but the I don't know if they were Miami cigars, which probably made them Dominican
Dominicans and
tobacco,
not true Cubans.
or if they were from Cuba. But the kid that gave me the hookup was from Cuba. He had
That's
defected
close.
from Cuba, so I'm sure he knew Cubans. Maybe there was an authentic line through Miami of Cuban cigars, but never they were like unbelievably affordable.
Yeah,
And they were. I loved them. You
Yeah.
couldn't get through them, but everybody else loved them. And for the price, wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it was.
Maybe it was because it was like you were kind of a rookie at smoking
Well, it
cigars.
was quite a while ago, and maybe I just inhaled too much. I mean, obviously, I must have because it was just overpowering for whatever reason. But at the same time, I could smoke other cigars.
Then you could.
Yeah, and it had no issue. There was no effect.
Well, maybe it was just I don't know. It was a good cigar.
Cuban soil. I'm allergic.
Something.
I'm
But
allergic to Cubans.
It was almost like from there was a point where you almost had like a taste aversion to it. Like
know.
pull one out of the box and you start
Yeah.
gagging.
I got a gag reflex. Oh, I can't stand the smell of them. I can't even look at them. I'm gonna get sick.
Well, obviously that's your tobacco boundary, right? We were
There's a good boundary story.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going back to that particular cigar yet.
Well-
yes, it might have been a good one, but just not for me. So I have to step back and say no, thank you.
and I studied psychology in college, and there's this thing called taste aversion, which is where you have something, too much of something, and it makes you sick, and then you just don't feel the need to ever go back to it, or at least you don't for a long time.
Yeah, you don't want to.
And I've had that with Pringles potato chips and my first beer. And my little friend drank a beer and had a bunch of Pringles too, and he threw up. And I've just got this gag reflex, So
Yeah, stink.
so I just and then I didn't eat Pringles again for I bet it was 4 or 5 years. And then in high school I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken, and after I'd worked there a couple of years, I didn't really have a flavor for that for it was a long time too, 8 or 10 years.
I didn't eat. I mean, I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken for a whole month and I got fired.
You did?
I did.
How do you get fired from Kentucky Fried Chicken?
The manager said I was spending too much time talking to the girls, which I'm in the kitchen
They were in the
working.
kitchen. Yeah.
Why are they in the kitchen?
Right.
I was working.
Well, so my experience at Kentucky Fried Chicken
You had
is
a
that
lot worse
the girls
experience.
do periodically need to come back to the kitchen.
They don't need to stay back there.
No, they shouldn't be loitering.
No. No.
Anyways, yeah, that's all their
There's a
fault.
couple
probably.
girls there that were fun.
I
but
didn't get
that was a
fired
long
from
time
Kentucky
ago.
Fried
He
Chicken.
fired me because of it.
I'd never heard you worked at Kentucky
I
Fried
did.
Chicken.
A whole month.
So I worked there, I want to say probably excess of a year or two,
Mm-hmm.
and I quit
Yeah.
because I got robbed. Have I ever told you that story?
That's a terrible.
It's a terrible story. Anyways, I got
terrible
robbed
story.
at Kentucky Fried
What's that
Chicken.
story?
And, huh?
What's the story? I mean,
You've heard it or not?
well,
so the story
tell
is
me the
where
story.
I was taking the trash out.
because I want to see if it stays the same.
And I was just a commoner,
see
you
if you
know.
wanna
I
embellish.
cooked the chicken and I did the dishes, you know. I was a high school
Did you
commoner.
make the coleslaw?
I mean, I think it was all pre-made and sent to us in bags. You
We
just
had
put
a
it in the. You just
pre-made-
put it
we had
in the
a mix.
little.
We had
It
to
was in a.
mix it.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, we had to do some mixing.
No, there was some mixing maybe
There was
because
some
there was.
mixing. You had to
Yeah,
put
I
a
remember
couple
there being
ingredients.
a.
You had the dry and the wets, and you had to put them together.
Same with the chicken, you know.
Man, it's been a while. I think I was only 16, so
Right. So, anyways, so I was out taking the trash out, and my overzealous manager decided to come and see what was taking me so long. But what was taking me so long was as I was taking the trash out, three suspicious-looking fellows came from behind the alley and behind the building, and I was like waiting for them to come out the other side. You know, they looked. I mean, who walks down there? It was
Yeah.
night. It was dark. It was
Three
the
guys.
closing time.
you're by yourself.
And I'm sitting out there by the trash can, which has a fence around it, by the way. So I'm
Oh, yeah.
I'm hidden.
Yeah.
And here comes my manager bebopping out. And what's taking you? I said, well, there was three guys. I told him the story. And so he went around the back of the building. And I stayed by the trash can hidden. And he wasn't back there for like 3-4 seconds. And here he come, you know, prancing around the back of the building like a little deer, and three guys following him, all wearing masks. And one was a werewolf and the other two were like ski masks. And he was so smart that he walked right to the trash can where I was hiding and basically gave up my position. So I threw my hands up in the air like you should do in the movies,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Put
Right.
your hands down," you know. Only they weren't so nice about it. They were
Yeah,
cussing.
put
at
your stinking hands.
Yeah, so he pushed us inside with the guns, and me and him laid side by side on the floor, and the dishwasher guy hit the floor in his soapy, nasty floor water, and one guy stood there with a gun and held us, and the other two went and got the girls, and they
Yeah.
went and got the register money, and they tried to get in the safe. I don't remember if they did or not, but anyway, so the guy standing over us is saying, "Hey, you know, don't move. I don't want to hurt you guys. We just want to get the money and get out of here." And so about that time, he asked us to give him, you know, our wallets and whatnot. And my manager turned around to look at him and squirmed and like kicked him in the foot. I was like, "What are you doing, man?" The guy said, "Don't move, don't move." And he cocked the hammer back on his pistol, and I was just like, "Oh my God, you know, I'm gonna feel."
die.
I'm trying to imagine what it would feel like for a bullet to go into my back. It's just hot, kind of, you know. I thought I was screwed, put it that way. So, anyways, they left, and before they did, they said, "We're leaving. Don't poke your little head up for 10 minutes, or we'll blow it off." Something of that nature. And so they walked out, and the dishwasher guy could see because he was facing the other way. And the manager, he said right away, we can go. They're gone, and popped up to his feet.
Yeah.
And I said, "No, I'm laying here for 10 minutes, just like the guy said, and you almost got me killed." And
Yeah.
long story short, I quit, and I didn't go back after that night. That was scary.
That was scary.
Gunpoint, robbed at gunpoint.
I've seen a gun waved around in close proximity before. I worked at a little place here in town, sold radios and different things. And I don't know, I'm in my 20s. And we had these little gangbanger guys, and that's not a disrespectful thing, I hope. But these guys were in a gang. They sold drugs, and they were very, in your face about it. And this guy come in all the time. And he would say, if anybody ever comes in here looking for me, you don't know me, you've never seen me before. He always had cash, and he had big wads of cash. And we put a couple different stereo systems in his car in this place that I was at. And he came in here one day in this place, and we're just sitting there talking. All of a sudden, this car comes pulling up, and he goes, "All right, guys, just sit here. Don't do nothing. Don't call 50. Don't call 50." And so we're just sitting still, and the whole frontage of this place is glass. It's just window. So we watch him go out the door, and he goes, he's about a car width. He's like at the front bumper of one car on let's say the left of that car compared to the guy parked to the right of that car in another car. But this little dude pops out of this car with this little Uzi. And myself and this other guy are standing like we're watching a movie. We're standing there looking out the window, and they're 30 feet away from us on the other side of this window. We're just standing there watching this thing go down, and we're like, "What the heck is going on?" And this guy says, "Do it, do it. I thought you were G. Let's go."
Oh, no.
Do it. And this guy's just waving it around, and then all of a sudden myself and this other guy looked at each other and went, "Oh crap!
Yeah.
We need to move.
Let's get out of here.
And that guy waved, and they cussed, and they yelled at one another. But the guy that was buying the stereo system from us was just like, I ain't scared. You're gonna shoot me, shoot me." And the guys cussed at him a couple times, hopped back in their car, and they pulled out and left. And the guy turns around, he walks back in and says, "All right, so how many days you gonna have?
Right,
What's it gonna
yeah,
take?"
yeah.
Like it was nothing. This happens to me all the time. And meanwhile, my little 20-something-year-old butt was in there going, "Oh crap, man, that was crazy." He goes, "That's nothing, man. That's nothing. Happens all the time." And then that guy, probably within, I don't know the exact time frame, but within the next few months, that guy was in the hospital because somebody did finally shoot him at some point. But
Well,
there's some crazy people out there.
I kind of try to avoid the whole gun thing, where it comes to people, shooting at each other. I was at a party though, come home one summer, and was at a big party, big keg party, and somebody did a drive-by shooting and shot one of my friends who was out on the porch, and he got hit 3 or 4 times. I can't remember exactly how many times. I think it was 3 or 4, but low caliber weapon, so it bounced around, did a lot of damage, and we drug him in the door, and he survived. He ended up having had to have just open heart surgery, open body surgery. I think they just needed
Cavity search.
Yeah, they just needed to kind of figure out what all was damaged as those things were bouncing around. But he's alive and doing well, and yeah. So,
I mean, we had some close calls, but there wasn't usually guns back in the mid-late 80s. Where from my little Mays area,
same in Wichita though. I felt like it wasn't until after I left high school when all that kind of started.
Well, like I said,
fester.
you came back from a party, right? And no, we would just do stupid stuff. I mean, guys would bring baseball bats and lead pipes and crap like that, which is bad enough. You get hit with one of those, you might as well get shot.
Right. Yeah. So, anyways,
Stupidity.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know how to look at it. I'm sure there's pros and cons, but we've had to deal with a lot of those types of things,
man.
and it's kind of so everybody grows up, everybody has experiences, and
Most do.
some are different than others, and some people kind of, I think, tend to find those places where experiences happen, where like the parties, it's lo and behold, every time you get together and a bunch of people are drinking, something crazy happens.
Well, you can't outgrow that type of situation when you continue to hang around those situations. I mean, if you want to separate yourself from that, you have to sometimes find different friends. Not everybody grows up at the same pace. Not everybody learns from their past mistakes at the same time. So I've felt that there's some people that I know, and I got some family members that still doing the same stupid crap that they've done since they were 14, 15 years old.
Touche, but most learn. Most grow up and learn from their mistakes and their past.
But that goes back to what you were saying a little bit ago, but when we were talking about boundaries, and I think I know we've had conversations about boundaries before, but you have to have boundaries for different reasons. And sometimes it's for safety. So you don't get shot. You don't get pulled into parties.
Well, we
where
teach our kids
bad things
boundaries.
happen.
That's what we're teaching them from the word go, right? As
Well, yeah,
parents.
stranger danger. That's a boundary.
Yeah,
Stay
that's a
away from people
boundary.
you don't know.
Well, I read a book. Speaking of boundaries,
Yeah.
and I thought it was a guy named I can't remember who the author was. Anyways, he was in a restaurant and he was talking about parenting. And he was talking about his kids being out on the playground right outside the restaurant, and there was a sign there that said "Beware of the embankment." So the dad goes inside. They're having drinks, and the kids are out there playing, and one of the kids falls down the embankment. And of course, the manager's mad. One of the kids fell down the embankment, and dad goes out there, and of course, angry, and brings the kid up to the top of the hill. And son, I told you not to go near the embankment. And the little boy's is like, Dad, okay, but what's an embankment? So sometimes.
Good point.
Sometimes setting those boundaries, right? You gotta be clear and
Explain
concise
yourself.
in how you explain what those are.
Well, why didn't they have some sort of a boundary or some sort of a fence on a
Right.
stinking embankment,
Right.
so nobody would go down the embankment?
Well, the funny that you brought up
Right.
fence, because
Yeah.
that is another definition
A
for
boundary.
boundary. Boundaries don't have to be, personal boundaries.
No, sometimes they're physical.
Sometimes they're physical, and quite honestly, I think everybody should have them. I mean, to some
Good reason.
degree, because it's likely that if you don't have any boundaries, you're going to get into trouble. You're going to cause somebody else trouble or problems.
Yeah.
And so, you can't just have wide open boundaries because you won't survive in society. Some point in time you're going to cross the boundary that either gets you arrested or in trouble, or you hurt somebody, or you make, something like that. So that's the greatest thing about boundaries is when you learn, like, okay, you made a mistake, I'm not doing that anymore. So you set that boundary right there,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, sometimes you find out where the boundary is because you push Big Brother a little bit too hard, and you find out, I can't do that because I'm going to get smacked. Mm-hmm. And you find that, okay, you get a physical, abrupt, okay, don't
Right.
do that anymore.
Right.
And that's where you learn a lot of crap when you're kids. Mm-hmm. For
Well,
sure.
I mean, we had BB gun fights in the woods.
Right.
Right. But we
Absolutely.
set boundaries.
Yeah.
No shooting at the head.
Yeah.
We all wore goggles, but
Well-
Brian had the CO2 gun.
Yeah.
He couldn't
Cheater.
do rapid fire. Brent had the pump gun. He couldn't pump it more than 2 times.
Yeah.
I was Daisy
That
Cock
never
BB
happened.
gun. I didn't have any rules.
Yeah, we had the same. Our stupidity, though, there was my brother and 2 of my buddies. They're brothers, the same age difference. Kirk and Kent, the same as us, and we never wore safety glasses. We just went stupid. We're going full on Rambo. We're just
So you were young and
Pump
dumb,
it-
and you didn't have any
pump-
boundaries. Would you do
none.
that now?
no,
So
not without glasses. I'd put them on. I don't want.
Well,
put
nowadays we
somebody's
can at
eye
least
out.
resort to
Uh,
paintballs too. We don't have to shoot BBs at each other.
Yeah, well, those hurt just as much as BBs.
Yeah, but they don't go in your skin, and
No, but man, I guess they leave welts. I've always wanted to go paintballing. I have never done it. Talked
I
about
know,
it a few
yeah.
times, and I never did. And we've got a great, apparently one right down the street from me. It's not even a mile away, I don't think.
I think it's probably pretty
It's
good.
supposed to be really
I
good.
did go laser tag once, and I think
go
we
laser
talked
tag.
about
We did
this
talk.
where
We used to
I,
laser tag all the time, actually.
I just fell into it. I was in spring training, and we were doing a staff get together at the
Right.
bowling alley. And
Yeah.
tied to the bowling alley was this laser tag thing. So we had free passes. So I was like, well, never done it. Might as well try it. And I go in there, and I bet probably 5 minutes into that thing, I'm laughing so hard I can't breathe, and I've been running, which I don't do either. So I'm completely out of breath. I'm tucked down behind some little barricade, trying to catch my breath. It was just, but yeah, the paintball stuff would be the same thing. You'd have to go get in
got-
shape.
They got bigger barriers. I don't know. I've seen a lot of people that paintball, and there's a lot of them that aren't in shape.
No,
Well, they are. It's usually round. is the
Yeah,
shape
they're
that
just
in,
crafty.
right? Yeah. No, you're just smart about what they're doing, and very army-like, and they can do whatever. I don't think so. A ton of running. It's more strategic. These moths are driving me crazy a little bit.
yeah, they like
Been
white.
attacked.
So
yeah,
it's probably
it's probably a reflection
now
off my
that it's-
head's not helping.
Yeah,
It looks
you're-
like a giant light bulb. Sitting-
well, that's strong.
Is that what it is?
That's strong. No, I mean there's definitely a sheen coming off, but I wouldn't.
Could be.
I wouldn't say it's like.
I don't look that bright.
No, you're not completely polished yet.
Not that bright.
No, so but we, where it comes
Anyway.
to boundaries, that talking about limitations, growing up, you learn to kind of set them on yourself, and
Yeah.
and it's kind of weird, in my opinion, how we learn that. You learn all about it, and growing up, there's some boundaries in relation to like sexual content, or at least there
Yeah.
used to be.
Yeah,
And yeah, there's a point in
moved a
time
lot.
where you learn the birds and the bees in school, and I think they used to send a letter home to mom and dad to
Yeah.
give them a heads up, but it was at an age appropriate, teenage years where kids were thinking about it, and thinking about what they're going to do moving forward, and curious about that type of thing. So they need to be educated, but when's it too early?
Yeah. Well, it can. Well, I think that's by the kid. Not every kid is mature at the same time. Not in
that's
any
a good point.
any means whatsoever. So you can't lump.
Well, physically
you know,
or
how many kids together now in a class? Let's say 5th grade class, depending on what school you're at. You got at least 30 kids in a class times how many stinking classes? Maybe 6. So 180 kids, and they're all the same. Just give them the same education of what XYZ, whatever.
Well,
it is.
how old were you when you started liking girls? When you realized, oh, these girls are.
My memory doesn't go back that far.
I'm in kindergarten.
My memory doesn't go back that
I
far.
was, so I mean, I was really young and I liked girls, but I never, I never thought about them in a sexual connotation until I was
full
like,
on sexual.
well, when I got to like middle school and in middle school was where I started going, hey,
I wasn't even that old.
really? Well, we
just saying.
both
Well,
matured a
I'm
little early.
thinking about it.
Well, and I think,
but I'm probably not thinking about it the way you're maybe saying.
well, yes and no. I
Yes.
mean, the bottom line is,
Yeah.
we didn't have a lot of boundaries
No.
as kids. I know we didn't, and so I didn't set my own boundaries where that was concerned.
Yeah.
Because I was just curious about it. I was going that direction. I didn't want to.
Oh yeah.
And
You were
that was the
saying.
same thing with partying, alcohol, drugs and the like. I set boundaries, but I didn't shy away from.
Pushed them a lot.
Yeah.
Push those boundaries. No, I remember, my mom trying to set boundaries when we'd go over to, my mother's for the weekend. She wouldn't let us watch Saturday Night Live when we were in grade school, junior high, pushing into 7th grade or so, because especially grade school, back Saturday Night Live was when it was good. You still had Belushi on there, and he was doing some crazy stuff, and Rosanna, or Dan, how the hell do you say it?
Rosanna, Dana.
Yeah, Rosanna.
Saturday
Dana.
Night Live. Oh,
Saturday
yeah.
Night was rock and roll, and Dan
That was
Aykroyd,
Dan
and all the
Aykroyd and
boys,
John
Bill
Belushi.
Murray.
Yeah.
All those guys were adult humor that a kid should not be listening to.
Well, even TV programs, though. A lot of them were adult humor. The
A ton
Archie
of
Bunker Show and Sanford and Sons
Yeah.
and those. We were talking about them
All the
last
family.
time.
Yeah, All the Family was great.
So the boundaries, our cultural boundaries,
Yeah.
have shifted almost in an opposite way. It's like I think everybody was coexisting pretty good during that time. I don't think anybody was offended. There was people
weren't
there
offended
was
as
still
easily.
lines. There was lines you didn't want to cross, but I don't think everybody was so sensitive about it.
No, no, absolutely not. People weren't near as sensitive. Everybody knew it was a joke. Everybody knew, for the most part, hey, you ever see everybody laughing? I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. It was funny, and you thought it was funny too. Don't try to be offended. Now everybody tries to be offended. They want to be offended. They don't want to give you the benefit of the doubt. They want to be drama, and they just, because I want to be the victim. And I can't give you a benefit of the doubt and laugh at it, because then I'm not a victim, because people are pushing themselves. This is the narcissistic crap that's going on in the world. It seems like people are just like, oh my gosh, it hurts my feelings so bad. You need to feel bad for me, and you need to give me something
Right.
because I feel so bad. That's what's going on today. It feels to me,
Well, and
my take on it.
Well, and it's almost like people are in search of it. You know, like I'm going to search out somebody who is going to offend me. You know, if you don't want to be offended,
Yeah.
then don't put yourself in that environment where, you know, somebody can offend you, especially like social media. You know,
Yeah, you have to go.
if you go to social media, you're probably going to get offended at some point in time.
Get off their page.
Right. But the truth is
Jackwagon.
that not everybody is going to have the same opinion about everything. And I don't think that's too hard to comprehend, but I don't understand why people get mad about someone else having a differing opinion, because it's just a different opinion. You don't have to change your mind to believe what they believe, but you sure don't have to get mad about it. You can talk about it. That'd be fine.
Well, it's almost seems like to me that we can't have individual identification anymore. Nobody can be an individual. It's a group identity time. So we're going to be offended as
Follow
a group.
the leader.
It's a group. So if you say anything about my group in any way, shape, or form, we're going to come at you. We're going to come at you hard and fast, and you better be ready.
I think the Bible calls those factions.
Or legions.
Yes, which
In
are
some cases.
people that congregate together
Legions
to try
of
to
demons
try
these
to.
days.
Well, it's just sad that moral boundaries are very, very unclear right now in our society. And while we're on the topic of, or while we're talking about boundaries, it's like, you got to think there's physical boundaries like fences, and I'm sure there's emotional boundaries and sexual boundaries and legal boundaries. There's so many different ways to discuss boundaries, but why is it that the moral boundaries aren't clear? Is it because the church is failing, or is it because it's inevitable that Satan is gonna dominate this whole earth until the time comes that Jesus wants to make a change? Or is it just a matter of is it the people? I mean, what has led to that? I mean, I know it's happened before in history, prior to the Great Flood, right? I mean, that's why God had Noah build the ark.
Yeah.
Because humanity had failed and fallen.
Yeah, we're just doomed to repeat ourselves until Jesus comes back. It's something that's been going on. I mean, the fighting that's going on right now in Israel and the Gaza and the Palestinians and all that stuff. This is not the first time.
No,
it's not going to be probably. I mean, it could be the last time, but it may not be the last time. But we continue to repeat history, one thing, just time after time after time. Sometimes maybe it takes a little bit longer than others, but we don't set straight with our morality. We keep falling short. We're not being that light as Christians probably enough to attract like we should be. Like these lights are attracting these moths. There's just not enough Christians doing the same to the world in a big enough arena, I guess.
You know what it also
grandiose stage.
Yeah, I agree, and so we all need to do better at that, obviously. But if you think about like the moral boundaries in our government, it's like we elect these guys to make these decisions on our behalf. It's like it's just odd how they've changed so significantly, and how it's almost gotten flipped. Like the law now is what people view as morals.
100%.
And in my opinion, there's a difference between laws and morals. Now, laws can be moral.
Yes.
And I think laws are obviously put in place for the sake of trying to control morality a little bit. But morality comes from inside.
Well,
I think, you got to be taught it, and you learn about it. And obviously as a Christian, my decision was to accept Christ into my life because I believe that morality matters.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he stood for. Love, and morality. I mean, there's a right and a wrong way to treat your fellow man.
Well, that's why our democracy, our government was set in place for that particular reason. We were put when we came over here. I'm going to use the group, term here. We, as in what we became anyway. We set this government up in 1776, and we did all the fighting. We did all this crap to push away this overpowering government who was taxation like crazy and all these other issues, to say, you know what, we want to do what we want to do. And the government was set in place by the people. The people came together with group, individual morality. And then we said, you know what, I agree with what you say, and I agree with what you say. This is the government I want to set up. And that's how we want to be governed, by what we say.
Right.
And then we voted that way, and we brought people in. Now it's become, well, you know what, you little peons,
Right.
thanks for voting me in, but
Right.
you aren't as smart as I am.
Right.
Let me tell you how you should live your life. That's where we're at now.
Right. Well, the difference between then and now, in a pretty vivid context, is the difference between the government then was the people. It believed that the people needed to be
A lot
the
more
ones
so.
controlling things. And when they elected officials, they elected them because of their stances on topics and things. And I'm sure they had different opinions when they wrote the
Tons.
Constitution.
A lot.
They had all kinds of differing opinions,
They
but
did.
somehow they were able to come to a place where they agreed. And man, that the documents of our forefather are pretty incredible.
I want to say this real quick. The reason, when they had conflict, you know what happened? If they got to a place where they couldn't mutually respect one another and agree upon something, they would have duels back in the day.
Oh, how about that?
You remember that? You remember how they used to go, you know what?
Well, was that
Let's step it outside.
I don't know if that applied to the forefathers. I know that
they
happened.
came from
I
that
don't
culture. They came from that era.
probably did. I
A
don't know
lot
how
of
far
that.
back that actually went.
But I'm just saying, they were big Second Amendment guys.
Well,
they would
I'm
also
sure.
know,
Yeah.
hey, you want to push it too hard,
Right.
we can step outside.
Well, there was plenty of bloodshed,
There was tons.
throughout our history, and for the, there's a time where I think our country and the people in our country stand up for what we're sitting here talking about, morals, and that's the reason why wars start. That's the reason why people are offended. That's the reason why one country betrays another, because because they do something immoral, like for instance Hamas, what they just did in Israel. I don't know, I don't know the history of their
there's a lot
conflict.
there.
I know that
Yeah.
it goes way back, and Palestinians and Jews and the Holy Land versus the Palestinian.
Everybody thinks they're right.
Everybody
Yeah.
thinks they're right, but the thing is like, how you gonna come to an agreement? I mean, some point in time you got to set boundaries, right? And that's, I don't know if that was what Gaza was all about. Put give the Palestinians their
Not
own
even
land,
gonna
or
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's what
Some of
Israel
it,
was about, giving them their own land.
Yeah.
And I don't know the history behind it all. I just know that, that we should be able to look at things and realize right and wrong.
Yeah.
Politics aside, the way in which people were killed, and I chose not to go research it and look at the videos.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have.
No.
But I've heard about the videos,
Yeah,
and
heard plenty.
I've heard the things that happened, the atrocities, and that crosses the boundaries of
does.
morality, and it goes to the point of flat evil, and so again, I think this is a good versus evil thing, and
Oh, absolutely.
Where's the boundary that divides good and evil?
It depends. Here's the issue here. If you're devil's advocate, basically, if you're a Palestinian, you think your side's the good,
Right. Well,
and then vice versa. So when you've got,
what if it was more extreme, like you're a Satan worshiper? Are you on the side of good then?
you probably think that
That you're on the right side.
you're on
anyway.
the correct side. Yeah.
Yeah.
You might not look at it as you may think, yeah, I'm on this side, and if that's how they look at us, that well, we believe that the devil is where we need to be. So I don't know if I guess in some way they consider that good. It's correct anyway. They're on the correct side, so you could look at it, good and bad that way too. I don't know, but
Well,
I mean, so you have to stop and think. Okay, there's some people out there that feel that way. So it's most civilians that aren't fighting, and they don't want to fight, and they may not, necessarily want to kill people, but they still think that they're on the right side. Their view is how they grew up, and that's what they were learned. So that's the sad thing is that there's tons of people on both sides that are getting blown up,
Right.
and they're just minding their own business.
Well, and
trying
you know
to
what
live their
else?
lives.
You said something just a second ago, or it's like, that's the upbringing they had. That's
Yeah.
what they learned. That's what they knew. And I don't think that stops with just the family. I think, in schools, what you're being taught in schools, that's who you become or you what you learn.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of places that you grab info from. But it's not just the family. Where are morals being taught, and what is the moral compass?
Yeah.
And in my opinion, where it comes to boundaries, I mean, I think it's the Bible, the Christian Bible.
Oh yeah.
And so, with that, that's where the conflict starts.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of different religions and there's a lot of different perspectives as far as what morals are considered to be. I mean, look at like polygamy, for instance.
Yeah.
There's a lot of accounts in the Bible of, King Solomon. I mean, he had 500 wives and 500 concubines, and
Couldn't even remember all their
no,
names.
I don't even know if he knew who they all were. I don't know
Who
how.
knew? Okay.
What is a prerequisite to become King Solomon's wife? Obviously,
Female.
maybe. I don't know what he was into, but he sure was attractive, evidently.
Man,
or he just didn't give them a choice. Just like, were they all slave women, or did they willingly? 500 or 1,000 women decide we're all gonna pass King Solomon around a little bit.
Well, he had more money than anybody, so
Yeah.
I guess
Well,
they were there to get something.
Relative to the time.
Yeah, exactly. He had more money than anybody at the time, and for quite a while after that. But no, it was beneficial for them to do it. If all they had to do was, there's 499 others. I may only have to see him once every year and a half. Take my turn. Not such a bad deal. And if, I can get in there early and bury my son,
All right.
then I'm going to be lifted up. So, I mean, they were a win situation potentially for them.
Well, and King Solomon
Not
in the
that
end,
I'm advocating for, I got one wife, that's all I need.
yeah, it's enough. How could you juggle 1,000? But in the end, King Solomon,
Never.
realized that everything that he had and was after was meaningless. He said, meaningless, everything is meaningless. Apart from a relationship with God, none of it's worth a hill of beans because you can't take it with you when you go. So he started to understand the difference between the soul and the human person.
Yeah. And for somebody that asked for wisdom,
Yep.
sure took him a while.
Yeah. Well, right. Well, but at least he asked.
He asked for, he didn't ask for all the riches and everything else. He just asked for wisdom. Yeah.
I've always asked for wisdom in my prayers because, the Bible describes it as so valuable, know. So that to me has always been something I've wanted to possess. I don't know if you ever fully possess wisdom because I think it's a forever pursuit, just 100%. Like the pursuit of God is a forever pursuit.
Yeah. I know a guy, and we'll just keep it at that. I know a guy who we get together every so often, and he's asked in one of his prayers, he's asked, hey, I need patience. And I know I probably shouldn't pray for patience, but I'm going to pray for patience.
Yeah, be careful.
And he'd been praying for patience for a really long time. And he said something the other day. He goes, I'm not paying for patience anymore because I can't wait any longer. And I looked at him, I said, you seem like you've been pretty patient to me. I just thought it was kind of funny, so I had to say that.
That's extremely ironic. Yeah, so I'm praying for patience, and I'm not getting the answer.
For the last 8 months, I've been praying for patience. I haven't gotten them.
God's showing
it seems like it.
Yeah, you're being very patient, waiting for your answer.
I just thought it was funny, so I had to say it. It popped in my head.
That's good.
It was funny.
But back
Anyway.
to the morals and the boundaries in that are morality, and that's the thing is there's no
It's a
just
tough one. Yeah.
it is a tough one, and even in Christianity, within Christianity, there's a lot of things that are questionable as far as what boundaries are overboard versus what is okay.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is we're sinners, so
Oh.
you're gonna probably mess up. You're
Well,
probably gonna step over that boundary anyway.
Well, the Jews were the best with the boundaries. How many fence laws did they have? That's boundaries. You want to talk about some boundaries, but they just didn't have them true moral boundaries, the heart boundaries.
Right.
They were all physical boundaries of external type boundaries where you have to have some boundaries of types of things that you watch or let yourself watch, and
Well, where it comes
all
to
kinds of different things.
you were talking about
Sucked in.
history repeating itself,
Yeah.
So when it comes to cultural boundaries, it's happened many times, even in Israel, and whereas people lost their moral fiber and their moral boundaries, and they went and turned from God,
Yeah.
and God ended up decimating their culture. And if you think about that, like that's inevitable. It's going to happen if you turn away from God. Eventually, he's gonna prevail, because there's many accounts in the Bible of the underdog prevailing because they had God on their side.
Right.
And so I just I hate the whole moral one, because to me it seems pretty clear, but I hate the fact that others don't have the same opinion, but it's to each his own. I don't have to live with them, so at least
Well-
not in the same house.
Yeah, just in the same country in a lot of ways. So I really believe that right now, as a whole, it just seems like we can see what's going on, which is probably not a great thing. We should know what's going on all over the world every day.
Right.
That vast knowledge of what's going on. I heard somebody say this the other day. I really think that was probably only really supposed to be for God to know what goes on across the world, because we as individuals don't have the capability of really grasping that and being able to rationalize it. To be
That
able to-
omnipresence,
it's just too
you
much.
can't be everywhere all the time. You just can't.
When that just wears on you, when you see death constantly, when you see bad things happen to children and all these things, it's just like you can't wrap your mind around it. And then that's when people go, well, if there was a God, this wouldn't be going on. You see a lot of that and you hear of it. I just don't think, the internet's been great in a lot of ways, but this World Wide Web is stuck us in. It feels like a web to where now we're just stuck in it, and you just see, you can feel the spider coming, and you can feel the earth shaking around you. You're just getting ready to get wrapped up and sucked dry.
Well, it's become to a point. It's gotten to a point where people rely on technology.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got these phones we carry around with us, and then of course home computers. Every business, every grocery store, everybody runs on these computer systems. So if God forbid that this all crashes, have you ever been to? I've been to a store before where their computer was down.
Yeah.
And instead of busting out a piece of paper and a pencil, they just we're sorry, we can't sell you
Close
anything
doors.
because our computers are down. Could you imagine that if it just all went to poop and how would people react? But back to the boundaries real quick, the moral boundaries. I was wanting to add or make another point, because I was asking where do those boundaries come from? Where is the line
morality?
between good and evil? Is there a middle ground? Obviously I think God knows that and Satan knows that, or whoever, but I think as humans we have an innate sense of that. However, as you're growing up and maturing, especially as a kid, who's responsible to set those moral boundaries? I think obviously we know the parents are part of it. Are they the
Originally, yeah.
right? But then you start getting into school and you start getting into other activities, and all of a sudden now you're being influenced, whether you want to be or not. You're being influenced by other people. So, you have to realize, regardless of your boundaries, not everybody has those boundaries. So you're going to be in an environment, sports teams, for instance. I've been on many of them, and as a Christian guy, I don't cuss a whole lot. Every now and then, if I get really angry, I'll let it fly. But everybody knows that, and they do them. In the clubhouse environment, there's a lot of guys who cuss rampantly and other things without saying more. But the point is I don't have a problem with those guys. If they came to me on a one-on-one basis and they said, "Hey, I'm struggling. What do you think? And how can I get back on track?" Then I would tell them what I believe. But at the same time, I'm not going to force that on anybody.
Yeah. Well, to change it, if all you hear is those type of things, then that's all you think about, because you are part of your environment, and that can wear on you. And so, they have to change that if they wanted to. But we are just individually, we have to be responsible. And that is where society, and I think I already said it earlier, is we're failing, is we don't want individual responsibility.
Well, and you can't live in a society with no boundaries.
No.
You have to have them, or it's chaos. It's going to be survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
Why would I care about you if it was all about me?
Yeah.
I don't. I'd try to figure out where my next meal was coming from, and if I got to kill you to get it, then But that's not what it is. That's not the way we were designed. We're designed to love, to feel, to have emotions. And because of that, it's crazy for someone to think that, there's no moral compass. It comes from somewhere, but I guarantee you, it doesn't come from school. There's things that are taught in school, but I don't think morality should be the place that those boundaries are set.
Yeah.
Not in school.
And the morality didn't come from us as individuals. We're not. I don't think we're smart enough or capable enough to go. In the beginning, we're just all hanging around a campfire, going, you know what? We're going to set these morals right now, right here and now. You're not allowed to do this, and you shouldn't speak this way to me, and you should be respectful, and whatever they may be. And they didn't come up out of a rock, or they didn't come up out of the ground. These things were set by somebody, a designer. Is what I believe, and I believe we both believe. The same person who set this world a spinning is also the one that said, thou shalt not XYZ.
Right.
They put all this in place, and you should do these things as well. And here's your morality. And that's where they came from. And over the years, they got written down, and they came into a book, and then people started picking them up. And
Well, he even created boundaries in the creation of the heavens and the earth. I mean, he put the fish in the water. He put the animals on dry land, and everybody had their, there's a difference between man and woman. Everybody's got this little, this compass that they, I think, internally probably have, whether they'll admit it or not. But the bottom line is, the one most notorious elephant in the room as far as boundaries are concerned is our southern border right now. Huh. And tell me a country that just decides to say, hey, come on in and free reign without going through the proper vetting system to make sure that they're here to be productive.
Yeah.
I don't mind people coming here.
Right.
But I want to know that they're going to be productive citizens. They're going to contribute to the existence of this country and the well-being of this country.
Yeah.
And that's the way it used to be when people came here through Ellis Island, and they, a lot of them changed their names because they were too complicated. They did whatever they could to come to this land.
Yeah.
But their intentions were not to necessarily take. I think they came here and they all learned really quickly that this is an incredible opportunity. Mm-hmm. This land is beautiful, and the democracy, that government is a free-spirited way to go about living your life. Mm-hmm. And they loved it, and that's something that I think, has gotten away from us. You know, it's like people nowadays that come here. I just feel like they're just trying to escape whatever it is that they're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just don't think at the rate in which they're coming here that they're all going to be considered contributors in our society.
Yeah.
You know, I would think there's going to be a lot of bad apples.
Well, it sounds terrible when for most people to go, I can't believe you just don't take everybody. I don't think we've ever been to where we just take anybody and everybody. There's a vetting process, if you will. I believe that's what it's called, to allow people to come in, because they can't be a drain, which sounds terrible, again, on the society, if they don't have anything to contribute. So, okay, what's going to happen? They come in here, they don't have a skill, they don't have the abilities, so that means taxpayer money is how they're going to be supported.
Right.
You go to any other country, you go over to Europe, all these countries that these people are feeling so that they believe are so superior to us, like Sweden and Denmark and all these other places. All these places are so great. They've got socialized this. They don't have to pay for college. You don't have to do this. But I guarantee you, some of the people that are spouting how great those places are couldn't get in them. They
Right.
wouldn't let them. You can come to visit, but you're not staying here because you aren't at this level.
Right.
We want people that are doctors. We want people or whatever it is. Somebody that's already got a business. They don't want somebody like me to come in and we got a warehouse somewhere I can run. You know, they want somebody that's already established. I think that's honestly what's going on. So we can't be that. We can't say, I want somebody that can at least work, and I want somebody that doesn't have drug
Right.
cartel ties, somebody that wasn't fresh out of prison.
Right.
And they said, go to the United States. I heard the
Right.
borders open. Get out of our country, you criminal.
Right.
And there are criminals that coming across, and there's good people coming across too, but there's a mix, and we've got to say, slow down.
Right. Well, if you were one of these Central American countries south of
Yeah.
Mexico, or you know, and you had a prison, let's say,
Yeah.
full of people,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you just let them out and say, hey, go north, don't come back here,
Yeah.
just go north, and if you can make it, more
about
power
it?
to you, but you're free.
Yeah.
You just can't come back here.
Yeah.
you
Come back as we'll shoot you.
You can go to the United States. So, you know, the thing is, I just think, you know, I'm all about someone being like truly oppressed and held captive, you know, and repressed to the point of not being able to eat or what have you, escaping that. But I don't think that's the case in a lot of regards. I do think Venezuela's bad, but I mean,
Right.
people are fleeing there,
Yeah.
and
Truly.
yeah, but you know, I don't think everybody coming in here is in that situation to where they like need to.
And for whatever reason, we can't find that out. People don't want us to know.
Would
That
you?
doesn't make sense.
I mean, if I was leaving a place to go to a better place, if I would,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh,
just trying
yeah.
to, I would
That
tell you
individual.
what you wanted to hear. You know,
Yeah, well, I just
that's
mean
been
there's-
terrible.
It seems like there's people in our government that don't want the citizens to know who's coming across. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a conspiracy theorist. It just, from what I see and what I've heard, that's what it feels like. No, you don't need to worry about it. People are coming across. They're fleeing a bad situation.
Right, but they're coming to our situation, you know, and as citizens, we're going to be the ones that are going to have to reap the, you know, the responsibility of financing, of training, of hiring, of vetting the hard way. You know,
Yeah.
who wants to hire somebody and they don't have any idea what their background is,
Yeah.
and knowing full well that it might all come
Scary.
tumbling
well,
down.
New
you know?
York's finding out about it. Sounds like New York City was having a hard time. Several weeks ago, they were screaming 100,000 people. Where are they supposed to live? They're putting them
Right.
up in hotels. And hey, guess what? They even brought up, I swear I heard, maybe you heard this. Hey, citizens may have to let some of these people live in their houses. Somebody
Yeah.
said that. I don't, maybe it wasn't New York, but some governor or a mayor of some state and city said that. And they're like, Who are you?
It just cracks me up that the
think
people in
that's
our
okay.
government think they can just like tell us
Just-
like this is you need to foot this responsibility. It doesn't matter whether or not you agree or disagree with our
Right.
border being wide open.
Yeah.
This is your responsibility to take care of this.
Yeah,
How
it's
come in my opinion, like we've talked about this before, but there's no way this isn't intentional.
Yeah. Oh,
There's no way somebody wants this, and you know I got my thoughts about why.
Yeah.
I don't really know, but
it's the devil.
it's like you know, and
Feels
I feel I'm compassionate to people that are struggling,
Yeah.
but I mean, what good does it do to help people who are struggling
Yeah.
if the people who are helping them are also struggling?
Yeah.
I mean, struggling people don't generally help struggling people because they don't usually have the means to. So if it hits this country hard like that, where people start losing their jobs and
Yeah.
it becomes
We're all in
burdensome,
the same boat. Yeah.
yeah, now we're all dealing with the same issue.
Yeah. Well, and then the more when you say things like, I guess what I've just said in the last 5 minutes, when you stop and go, well, that didn't sound like a good Christian. You hear that a lot. Well, a good Christian would say we need to help everybody and we just need to, bring them in and we need to figure out the housing situation. And to a degree, I get that. So I've got that rub of, the old say, what would Jesus do? I don't know. I'm not him, and can't pretend that I know what's 100% right, but I also know to being taken advantage of the way we are and manipulated is not right. So you've got to
Right.
stop and go, no, I can help, but I can't do it to my
Right.
detriment of my family.
Right. Kindness is one thing, but when people take advantage of your kindness, that's another. And I should be the one to choose who I'm kind to or who
Yes.
I help.
Yeah.
And or if I help, and it's totally for me to decide. And I don't want anybody to struggle, but I also realize I can't help everybody. I can't help everybody,
Well-
and I sure can't help people that don't want to be helped.
What normally would Jesus, speaking of that, what he asked the blind man, do you really want to be healed?
Right.
So if you don't want true help,
Right.
he wouldn't even help you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I guess to that point, there is that.
Well, and he told the rich man, how
Yeah.
can I? The rich man
You
says,
wanna-
how can I
yeah.
follow you? What does it take? He said, give away everything you got.
And
Come
follow
follow me.
me.
And the guy wasn't willing to do it.
Yeah.
And so there's that, but
Some of that.
the boundaries of
Yeah.
your house. I mean, you have a fence in your backyard, right?
Got a fence in my backyard, goes around the front, keeps people out of the back.
Do you lock your doors
Lock
at night?
doors at night, during the
and,
day.
and I do too.
Shut
And
the
I
doors.
don't lock them because I generally distrust people. I lock them because I want my family to be secure.
Right.
And so I don't understand this whole concept behind like we should just open it wide up and
Yeah.
just trust everybody. No way
No.
would I just let anybody and everybody come into my house
Yep.
and jeopardize the safety of my own family. So what
People
is it?
you don't know.
Right. And so, but that's what's happening.
That's what's happening.
This
And
country
a big-
is
yeah.
this country is our
Same
house.
difference. Same difference.
This country is our house, and we're letting just random people come into our house, assuming that they're just going to lay down and take a nap, and we're going to feed them a sandwich, and they're going to be good.
There's a lot of people I do know I don't want just showing up at my front door thinking they're coming in.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Well, especially not unannounced.
You weren't invited.
How come you didn't call me?
You weren't invited. Get out of here, you knucklehead. You always eat all my food and drink my drink.
Yeah.
Get outta
Anyways,
here.
boundaries are crazy because they're individualized, but are they? I mean, is there really a defining line between
Oh,
things? I know from a property standpoint, people fight about boundaries all the time.
All
you
the
know,
time. Sure.
You built your fence too far over here.
yeah.
So boundaries are part of everyone's life,
Yeah, you have to have
but
them.
it's some things for some reason.
They're healthy in a lot of ways, and sometimes we have to put them up. And sometimes, people's feelings get hurt, but it's not about them. It's about you
Right.
protecting yourself, because if you don't have those boundaries, then what happens with you is the issue. That's the big thing. When your heart starts changing because you didn't have good boundaries, and we talked a little bit about that in church today, as far as, how you feel internally towards your neighbor and towards other people. If your heart gets hardened or turns, nasty, then you're sinning, really. And that's not a good thing.
Well, okay, but I think you can develop or come to a place where somebody like that crosses the boundary
Yeah.
that you've set, and maybe probably made it clear to them as well.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they've crossed that boundary, and you choose not to open the door to them.
That's different.
I think that's different. I
agree.
think
I
that's
agree.
something that, hey, you made it clear up front,
Yeah.
and so as Christians, are we supposed to compromise our boundaries because somebody else deems us as giving, kind, whatever? No, I think it's a point in time where they start mistaking kindness for weakness, and they take advantage
Right.
of you, and then you got to go, wait a minute, I tried to be kind, and you took advantage of it, and now, I'm not going to be kind anymore.
No, that's exactly, we kind of mentioned this earlier. I was just saying, my wife and I have done boundaries for different things, and, I've had to put boundaries on family to where they've, we have, the wife and myself both, Brandy and I both, said, we want to help you. We want to do this for you. And then here, let's help you get a job. Let's do this. Let's do that. And then it came back, and they, spit in your face basically by their actions. And then you just go, okay, love you, but don't come back for more because that's done. That door's shut. That's my boundary. Don't come back and say, hey, I need help again. No, I did it. I've done it more than once, and I'm done. There's no reason. I can still love that person. As we were talking earlier, you can still love that person, but love does not mean, here's my wallet.
Right.
Here, take this.
Everything I've got is
Or,
yours.
Yeah, come on in and take what you want, and you don't have to do that.
No.
Because because it can turn your heart to where
You bet.
you've got anger and you're disgust, and that's not a good thing.
Well, anytime you help somebody out, you hope they show appreciation. But I mean, that's not always.
It's not why you should
guaranteed.
do it.
That's not why you
right?
should do
Yeah,
it.
you shouldn't do it for that.
But at the same time, a continued pattern of not showing appreciation, gets to a place where you're like, oh, right, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with it.
Here's the taker. Yeah.
Yeah, it's there's limits, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Anyway.
there's no I guess there's no right way to define the boundaries of anything except for coming to an agreement
Yeah.
with your neighbor, with your family person, with the politically. Anyway, I mean, you got to be able to shake hands with your neighbor. You gotta reach over the fence sometime and say, hey, you know what?
Yeah, you shouldn't wall yourself
Good
up.
to see you.
That
No.
too. That's a good point too. I mean, because some people's boundaries are different. Some people are okay with certain things happening that other people just can't handle. So boundaries are different. We're individual people, and that's okay. I mean, it's a heart thing. That's ultimately whatever it is. Some people just have a lower tolerance for stupidity than others. So,
Well, right. And I think the more you deal with it, the less tolerance you have.
yeah, sometimes I've been smacked in the face with stupidity too many times. But
Well,
Yeah.
we can beat this up, but I like
Yeah, that was
the
good.
conversation. I like the topic, and
yeah,
I'm not here to tell anybody they need to come on this side of the fence or what have you. I just like, you know what, if someone has boundaries, though, I think you should respect
You
those.
should respect them.
And whether that's a physical boundary as a fence or even just a property line,
Yeah.
or if it's morality or whatever it is. I mean, as a parent, that's why I think the biggest issue is regarding, what's going on in schools. Parents are just saying, hey, you know what, your morality isn't lining up with my morality.
Yeah.
And we need to kind of find a common ground here, because I do think it's important for human sexuality or biology or anatomy or whatever to be taught.
Right.
Just there's got to be
degree.
something that says, okay, here's the time, here's the
Yeah.
place.
Well, cool.
So Cool.
Well, yeah, this was a nice little conversation, and it's a pretty decent night.
Beautiful.
Didn't hear the dog too many times squawking in the back, so that was
Could be
good.
because we got earphones in. We can't hear.
Yeah,
them.
well, they didn't come across the microphone,
That's
so that's good. And the moths only hit me 3 or 4 times.
They're attracted to light.
They are shiny, shiny. Well,
Okay.
all right, that was
All right,
okay,
Troy.
Brad. Did that cigar good? You finished it.
It was delicious. It really was. And
deal.
they're a good size too, where
About
they're
the right
you know
size, huh?
20, 30 minutes.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah. Well, nice talking with you.
All right, Brad. See ya.
Have a good one.
Bye.